like to know what we're chatting about?
Hey Olivia, yeah, what do you have for me today? I got the invite, but you stopped telling me what we're doing.
Exactly, because it's more fun this way. It's more fun when we can just kind of, off the cuff. I want to hear the real response. So, a question I've been hearing actually a couple times recently from prospects is why can't I implement my new ERP myself, or specifically NetSuite, obviously, right? And so, sometimes we get this question from people who have a botched implementation from, let's say, like NetSuite Professional Services, and they're like, "Hey, why can't I do this internally?" And so, my question for you today is exactly that. Can you implement your ERP, specifically NetSuite, yourself? Are there certain instances where that's possible?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. So there are ways I've seen it done both ways, right? And I've seen it done successfully with partners, and I've seen a couple instances successfully doing it without. But just to start this off, sort of to give you the answer, like the one sentence answer for this, what I would say personally is you can implement your own ERP system if you don't have anything else to do with your job. That would be what I would say. If your full-time job is implement this thing and you have 8 to 10 hours a day for weeks on end where you can play with settings, learn, watch YouTube videos, read help guides, yes. I mean, you can. Now, if you have to split your time or you have your day-to-day job or you want to do complicated things, I never want to be the one who tells someone that they're not capable of doing something. But it's definitely one of those areas where the level of expertise, the level of time commitment that you have to put into doing an ERP system, and just the experience again. Let's say that you were to go with us as the implementation partner, right? Like me coming in or doing it, or one of our guys coming in and doing it. We've got a couple dozen of these under our belt. Hundreds of these under our belt in some cases. We know all the little pitfalls, right? So
Mhm.
when we go to do, let's say, a data migration mapping exercise, right? And we know what custom fields have been pulled in, which ones have been pulled out. When you do the import, you just know these tips and tricks. You know what to map where and how it's going to work quicker and where you're likely to get errors. And when you don't have that, when you're trying to do it by yourself, you really don't have the access to the things that are going to save you time. So I don't know. Would it be helpful for me to talk about, because back in the very original days of NetSuite, when I first started working with it in 2008, 2009, there was a lot of people who did it. So like, do you want me to talk about some of the things I saw with
Sure.
people who did it
Yeah.
by themselves?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in the day, NetSuite came as sort of a blank system, right? It's not like today where you get Suite Success where you buy it and it's like a pre-made thing. The pre-made thing makes it somewhat easier and somewhat more challenging because when you buy a pre-made thing, there's everything is there in front of you. Everything's already enabled. It's sort of like sensory overload, right? Learning all the little pieces and exactly what does what, it takes a long time. Back in the old days when it used to just be a blank environment, there was like a donation program when NetSuite first started about, small nonprofit entities, 1 to 5 people would be just given a NetSuite environment, right? And that program stopped because no one could get it up and running, right? It was not helpful for anyone. NetSuite is bigger than QuickBooks. It's more powerful than any of the Intact or Intuit, right? And what ends up happening with that is when you give someone a blank environment or pre-configured environment, it's not just a software you pull off the shelf. So setting up, can you just do a journal entry? Can you put in like 10 accounts and just do journal entries? Yeah, any systems could do it. I mean, you can do that with a pen and paper, right? So,
Yeah.
NetSuite's designed to be simple where you could go in and you could do those sorts of things. But then anything else to expand your business, right? You're stuck spending hours and hours and hours. And so going with an implementation partner where you know what you're getting, you have expertise, you have someone to say, listen, based on what you do, here's what I've seen, here's the optimum way to do that. Not only does it save you time from having to dedicate your whole existence, for several months away from whatever your job at your organization is, um, you end up losing out on best practices, you end up losing out on expertise, and you get planning for future phases, you get guidance on what searches and reports you want, right? So it's really about leveraging the expertise, and it's going to make it more successful, of the 36 or 40, I've done 36 or 40 rescue implementations where back in the day, people got NetSuite, they tried to do it themselves, and then they came back to consulting, a year later. I can't do anything with the system. Help. And going into those accounts, stuff is never set up correctly, right? Understanding the structure of segmentation. How do you want to use the analytics in NetSuite? And the tools only grow more powerful since then, right? The tools back then were very basic. So, with the power and complexity of the tools that are available now, getting the most out of them, would take someone by themselves, 6 months to a year to figure out how to get the most optimal reporting, as opposed to an implementation where you get all that, in a month or two.